my name is Patrice. I'm a singer-songwriter and voice coach who has been doing this for over 15 years. And today I want to talk to you, because it is the new year, about how can you set yourself up for success this coming year. And because of doing this for such a long time, there are certain things that I've seen that are successful with the artists that are still doing this today that I've started with in the beginning, and those maybe who have dropped off. Be it good, be it bad, whatever it may be. But stick with me as I break down some of the trends and some of the things that I've seen that have led to success. All right, all. So in the most beautiful thing about being a coach for the amount of time I have is that I've been able to kind of see certain patterns along the way that I've noticed have led to success with the people that are still doing it today. Now, I want to start this by saying whether your goals are to just be doing this for your own self, right? And you want to just get used to hearing yourself and feeling good about how your voice sounds. Nothing wrong with that. You know, that's a goal, that's an achievement, that's a place to go. Whether you're here because you want to do this on a local level, you want, you have a 9-to-5, but you want to fulfill that purpose or that drive within you to go out there and perform. Or there's those here that are listening and watching that, you want to do this. This is like, you're in it. There's no plan B for you. And so I want to say across the board, you can apply the different things that I'm talking about today in order to, hopefully, my goal here is to be able to impart on you some things that can straight shoot your success. But I'm also going to say that, like anything, time, right? Time and effort and action are really what lead to the success, right? Especially in this social media world, quick fixes, different things like that. That's going to be one of the things, my friends. I'll start there, I guess, with that leads to success. You have to be willing to do what others are not willing to do. And I gathered this from just studying some of the greats, right? Like what are the things, right, that they're doing that's leading to success? In success, if you haven't heard this, or maybe you have, right? Success leaves a trail. Meaning that there's certain actions, there's certain things across the board that people who are in a higher realm or who have achieved their goals and have done great big things have done. And one of those things is being able to do the hard things. So for example, my person who wants to get better at their vocals just for themselves, we have to, and this again goes across the board for all of you, any of my vocalists, but you have to be willing to do your warm-ups. The warm-ups aren't fun. Right? Like, may. It's kind of tedious action. But what I'll say with that is it really starts to get that muscle memory behind where you want your placement to be for your voice, which ultimately creates your natural sound. So that's number one. And for those who want to do this on a local level, it's got to be, to get out there and start to talk to other musicians. If you want to put together a band, start to notice what is happening in your area, where are the places that you can gig, starting to put together your set list, right, and working your way through who am I, what's my show, all of this loveliness, which is creative and fun, but a lot of times too, that business side of it, right, being disciplined to get the emails out there, to do all that. And for those who want to do this on a higher level, you have to be able to do the hard work of pushing past all the barriers of the times that you reach a certain point and you're feeling good about that, but then all of a sudden as you're going to this next point, you're hearing no's, you're hearing you're not good enough, things slow down, right? The momentum seems to slow down a little bit, and you have to do the hard work of getting through that period of life, through that barrier, because I promise you it will, and that might come from just taking a little time to rest, taking a little time to rejuvenate. And that's one thing I'll say as a little side note is I remember hearing this from multiple people that I really admire, but there's different seasons of life, right? We can look at the actual seasons and see how that could correlate to our own lives, right? We have winter, we have spring, we have the summer, we have the fall, right? So when we think about the winter, it's a time to rest, reflect. When we have the spring, it's a time to really nurture and plant the seeds, right? Summer, we're working through those seeds. We're trying to figure out how all that's going to grow, but it starts to grow, right? We start to get some crops. And fall's really when it comes in and we're really reaping those benefits, right? And so we could almost think about that. I remember Tony Robbins, I really love Tony Robbins, but him saying and relating even our own cycles of life to that. But when you think about yourself as an artist, right, when you're starting and you're grinding away or certain things like that, it's not always going to come so easy, and it might seem like some of those seeds you plant don't always come into fruition, right? They don't always happen. But if you do keep on planting, if you do keep on understanding what's needed for that soil, right, more and more will grow. And then as you work your way through the summer, really configuring, okay, what is the best kind of pH for that soil, or how much water does it need, or does it need shade or sun or whatever it may need, you'll come into a point of the fall where it's more of you're reaping the benefits of your hard work there. So those periods of life can go for a period of time, right? We don't just decide to do this and then all of a sudden it starts to happen. So when you're setting yourself up, I feel like that's a super important mindset that I want for you to keep in. That just because you say, okay, great, I'm going to state this goal, that it's going to happen. There's planning out what's going to happen, kind of configuring that, okay, great, I'm going to be in this for the long haul, right? You know, the seasons don't just come and go and it's like, okay, one day we're going from winter to spring to summer to fall. You know, it's like months. And sometimes when we think about these seasons, we can almost think of them in time periods or years, right? And that's hard sometimes for those who, you know, are really passionate about it and start really strong to kind of wrap their minds around that this can take years. And that's something I've seen with a lot of my artists, right? That have stayed in the game, is that there's that understanding, whether it be in the beginning or as they're going through the process, that this isn't going to be something that just happens in a month, months, a year, or years, right? It can take time to build yourself creatively, and then also in a business realm, right? There's networking, there's understanding who you want to be in touch with, who you should be in touch with. And so it kind of leads to another point that I've seen is surround yourself with really good people, right? Anytime anyone's moved to like any of the major cities, one thing I kind of impart, and that's my reality, is that like know everyone, but know who you want to be around, right? So it's important to kind of know everyone because you want to kind of understand what's happening around you, but you want the right kind of people in your team, right? You want those people around you who are going to fill you, who aren't going to deplete from you, who aren't going to knock you down, who aren't going to use you as a stepping stone. Because there's a lot of those people, right? Who like will do whatever it takes to kind of get to the top, or they kind of have that mindset, and that could be used in a positive or negative way, right? The positive way is that there is this endurance to continue, which is awesome. The negative is if they're utilizing that energy and they're utilizing to just step on people, right? I'd also argue that even if they get at the top, it's just not going to be as fulfilling because they haven't, I don't know, I would hope that their soul doesn't sit well with that. But that said is, so staying in doing the hard stuff, keeping that mindset in that this can be, depending upon the goals, something that you're going to be in for the long run. So the other thing I want to impart on you that I've noticed is patterns, right? Success leaves trails. Find those patterns. Find those people that you admire and just start to study what is it that they're doing. Is there certain social media things they're doing? Is there certain ways that they're putting out their content, right? And authenticity, as a little side note here, is extremely important in anything, I would argue, and in particular in this industry, in the music industry. Being yourself and being authentic and creating authentic art is extremely important, and that's what is going to draw in your fan base. But that said, when you're kind of configuring, anyone can be authentic to themselves while also studying and looking at how can they get out their message, right? How can you configure, your things? It's kind of like me, as a coach, like one thing I want to do, I'm an artist, but like I love to be able to impart. I really find a drive and love to be able to help people. And so for me, it's like awesome to be able to do these videos and hope that it impinges upon someone, right? But doing these videos at times when I start to go, well, geez, if I want to get out to people, if I want to be able to help as many artists as I can, like, what do I need to be doing? Because how do I need to do my content? And so I started to look and I'm like, people are doing these reactions. And I was like, like, I don't feel like I'm adding any value by doing reactions. But then I had to retrain my mind. And I was like, you know what though? Now I find them fun. But it was like, you know what, actually you can, because like you can break down and understand like what did they do in that successful, right? So when I watch these reels and I'm breaking it down, it's like a lot of times I see some of the same stuff, right? Patterns, right? Vocally, a lot of these artists, they are really solid placement, right? Their sound's nice and forward. They're really utilizing vowels, especially on the high note. So, it's like I can impart myself there, and that's really helped for me to be able to grow and to be able to reach more people. So sometimes you have to kind of compromise a little bit, like, okay, great, I want to create this, I want to do this, but how am I going to get that out there? So I definitely say, it's about taking a look at, what is it that you want to do, and being able to understand that what is kind of the mindset thing you need behind it to do this, what are the kind of patterns that are happening there, and then you can also start to look at, right, here's my goal, right, but putting a goal there without understanding the actions you need to take is extremely important. Right? I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons that we lose our momentum around the new year, right? It's great. It's kind of an artificial, it is. It's like we've created this January 1st, like, okay, new year, now we need to like change our whole life. Some people do it. Some people go either end. Like some are like gun-ho with that, and others are like, screw it, I'm not even gonna do it. But I feel like we can find a nice balance of that, right? Which means that I like to use it as a time to kind of go, okay, great, let's reflect, right? It's also winter, right? I'm in New England, so like it's cold here. It's definitely winter. You definitely feel that. But I feel like back to that analogy of the seasons, it's a time to reflect and really take a look at different things. So when I think about it's winter here, right? So when we think about that in relation to our goals, we can take that time to reflect, to understand what is it that we want to do, and again kind of make sure, yes, this is what we want to do action wise or goal wise, but like what are the steps, what are the different things, up here it's like if your goal is to perform on a local level, well, it's like you got to kind of configure what makes up someone that is performing at a local level, and then kind of like what are the different things that you can be doing to achieve that state, right? So if that person is gigging weekly, it's like, okay, great. You got to find places to be gigging, right? The other thing too is like, well, they're able to sing for 3 hours, right? Or 3 45-minute sets or 2 45-minute sets, whatever it may be, right? When you kind of analyze and look, and then you got to kind of build that yourself. So that's kind of where it goes, okay, great, this is the goal. This is what makes up someone who's doing that. And then on a side note here, these are the different things that I need to be doing to achieve each of these different states here. And that's what I think really leads to the success, right? Is we need to kind of point out what we want, understand how we're going to. So research, right? A lot of times too, it's like, oh, I don't have the answer, so I'm going to, just chop it up to fate or luck or anything there. And I'm a huge advocate of luck is what, the lucky, oh, they're lucky. And I'm like, it's what you create. Whether that be that someone just lands in the right place at the right time, I don't think that's just luck. I think that that person worked to put themselves in that place. And so that's something I would say to you all too. Right? And I've seen be successful with the ones that are still in it, is there's a lot of action that happens, right? So it's a lot of overcoming the barriers. It's a lot about staying the course, and taking action towards the goals. And so There's so much to this, but I hope these little bits here inspire you or help you a bit. So take that time, reflect, right? I want to just finish up on that note of winter is reflect, right? There's nothing wrong, especially with creators. We tend to create, and it's like, think about seasons, think about crops, right? You continually just plant, grow. That's not our natural state. Even though we do that, I would argue that it's probably not the best fruit or vegetables that we want, right? Because they tend to probably be nutrient deficient. Because in order for the soil to really get what it needs that time to kind of rest. It needs to kind of rejuvenate, right? So as an artist, this is my to you all, your rite of passage. If you've been in that constant create, in that kind of hamster wheel of things, to take a moment to stop, reflect, figure out what your goals are, what best serves you. Sometimes too, even with the goals, we have to reflect and go, is this still serving me? Do I still want to stay the course with it? Because there's nothing wrong with not, right? Even the ones that I've worked with who are not doing this, the goal is that if you can come and learn something new, you're still gaining confidence. So there's never a loss in anything. That's a huge thing too, right? There's never a loss. If you change your mind and now you're upset because you spent so much time doing something, I would say that's a beautiful point of life. Because if that wasn't right for you and you now find yourself here and you're upset about it though, retrain that mindset. Now you know you're in a better spot of what best serves you. So it's okay. So I hope this helps. I hope you get busy either taking that time, reflecting on what's needed for you, figuring out what your goals are, what are the kind of actions you're needing. Take some time to research what are the different patterns in your industry or your field or your genre, whatever it may be, and have a happy, healthy, prosperous new year.